Hey guys. Yep. Are you able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. So, so welcome guys. This is a Git and GitHub. So level one. It's a beginner course, guys. So what we are covering in this course, we are covering about the Git and GitHub. So what is Git? What is GitHub? We'll discuss. Okay. So before going through the course detail, so myself, guys, I'm a Hari Cheruku. I'm a DevOps consultant and solution architect with 12 plus years of industry experience as a real-time and a trainer, guys. Okay, so I have done few certifications, guys. So those are I'm ITL V3 certified and I'm a Red Hat certified system administrator and I'm a Red Hat certified Linux engineer and I am a AWS certified solution architect and I am a certified Kubernetes administrator. Okay, so what is agenda? What are the prerequisites to learn these codes? So what is the agenda? So introduction to Git and GitHub, uses of GitHub user interface. So what is? So introduction to Git and GitHub, usage of GitHub user interface. So command line usage of Git towards advanced usage. So what are the prerequisites to learn this course, guys? So there is nothing. So everyone pay attention. Everyone can learn this because of nowadays. So the developers will develop the code and push it to the shared location that is GitHub. So developers, QA engineers also so will doing the automation. So that automation code also push it to somewhere. So for that we need a GitHub and DevOps engineers also. So they are creating their infrastructure code and the pipelines, the code, everything. The automation code will be stored under the GitHub, right? So that's the reason everyone nowadays everyone can understand and can use the GitHub and need to learn the at least a basic beginner level of a Git and GitHub. Okay, so there is no prerequisites, guys. But pay attention. So it will be a Git and GitLab. So both are guys. Git, GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket. All are similar. If you learn Git, right? If you learn Git and GitHub, it will be very easy to understand about the that source code repository tool or a source code management tool or a version control system. So it may be a Bitbucket or it may be a GitHub or it may be a GitLab or Azure repo, right? So these all are the repository tools. Goals and objectives. What are the goals and objectives? At the end of this class, you should know how to get started with the GitHub, be able to work with the GitHub repositories, find information and support to the learn more. So what we will cover in this course? We'll cover it in module 1, Introduction to Version Control System. So what is a version control system? What is a version control? Types of version control systems. Is there centralized version control system or a distributed version control system? Benefits of version control system. Introduction to Git. History of a Git and GitHub, GitLab and Bitbucket. Okay. So module 2, Git installation and configuration on your local. Installing Git on Windows, Linux, Mac, basic Git configurations and Git GUI tools versus command line tools. Okay, so we can use the Git bash as a CLI and the GUI. So I can show you the VS code, right? Visual Studio Code. Developers and the QA engineers and the DevOps guys uses the IDE that VS Code or something like IntelliJ, Autumn or something like Eclipse, right? So I will show you VS Code how to do through GUI. So module 3 will discuss about Git basics, creating a Git repository, cloning a repository, Git directory structure, checking the status, adding the files, committing the changes, so viewing the history. So module 4. So working with the branches, what is branch, how you can create the branch, how we can switch the branch, how you can delete the branch, understanding the branches, creating, switching, merging, conflict resolution, deleting the branches, and module 5 will discuss about the Git workflow and collaboration. So remote repositories, git remote, hyphen v, what is pushing the changes, what pull the changes, fetching, forking, flow, upstream repositories. Module 6 will discuss about the undoing and resetting, git checkout versus git restore, git reset, git revert, stashing, git cleaning. And module 7 will discuss about the tags and releases, creating a tags, annotated and lightweight tags, listing and deleting tags, pushing the tags to remotes. Module 8 will discuss about the Git advanced topics, Git rebase, Git cherry pick, Git hooks, and Git ignore. Okay, Git attributes will discuss. In the ninth module, will discuss about Git with GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, creating a repositories on GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket, SSH key configuration, collaborator access, issues, projects, and actions will show you. In the module 10, so real-time scenarios and best practices, workflow strategies, Git flow, GitHub flow, team collaboration practices, Git in DevOps pipeline, Git LSS and productivity tips, security in Git. So we'll discuss. Okay. So these all are the topics we are covering in this course. Understood, guys? Yeah. So what is the duration? So what we will provide, we'll discuss it. So what are the prerequisites to learn this course, guys? Prerequisites are none. Right, guys? So prerequisites, none. Okay. So duration 5 days, guys. 5 days, Monday to Friday. Okay. And plus we'll share two recording videos. Those are related to Q&A. So what is that? QA, question and answers. So frequently FAQs, or else those are frequently asked questions. So okay. So move. So we'll give you 7 recordings on the trainer. Who's the trainer, guys? Trainer Mr. Hari, having 12 plus years of experience. How many? 12 plus years of experience. Okay. Class timings. What are the timings? So what are the class timings, guys? 9 p.m. IST to 10 p.m. IST. Okay. So 9 p.m. IST to 10 p.m. IST. Yes. Okay. So note what we will provide. So soft copy, class notes, and recorded videos will share via Google Drive. Okay, we'll share via Google Drive. Understood, guys? Guys, understood? So what we will cover, guys? Any doubts? Yep, Ganapati. Thanks. Yep. Yeah. So version control system or source code management tool. So what is version control? What is version control system or source code management tool? So what is version control system or source code management tool? What is version control system, guys? What is source code management tool? What is version control system? Are source code management tool. So what is version control system and source code management tool? I will tell you. You will understand what is this. Yeah. Something like what this guys. Sorry. Something like developer. Who is this? So this is the a developer guys. For example, so this is a developer. Who is this? This is a developer. So this is a developer. So this is also a developer. This is also a developer. Okay. So what this guys one second. Yeah. So this is so this guy is this. This guy is this. Okay. So this guy is working from Hyderabad, and this guy is working from USA, and this guy is working from Chennai, and this guy is working from Pune, right? So these guys are working. These all are the developers. So these guys are whatever the developers develop that code, right? That code will be pushed to somewhere, right? So Hyderabad guy, USA guy, and Chennai guy, and Pune guy. These guys are developing the code, right? So how to integrate this code? What is that? How to integrate this code? How to integrate all the developers? How to integrate all the developers code at one place? Okay, how to develop? How to integrate this guy is developed the code, this guy is developed the code, this guy is developed the code, and this guy also developed the code. But how to integrate all the developer codes at one place? And what is the second point? How to track code changes in the project. How to track the code changes in the project. For example, so what is that? Who modified? Who modified the code? And so when modified? And where modified? Who modified when? Why modified? And what modified? What modified? Right, guys. So so what is that? So where we can integrate all the developers code at one place, right? So what is a version control system? So version control system is nothing but right, all the developers, so multiple developers, so we'll work for a project development. Yes, these all are the multiple developers. So we'll work for the project development. So developer will be working on the multiple locations. Yes, developers will be working on the multiple locations. All the developers should do. All the developer code should store at one place. Yes, we need to store at one place, right? So to integrate all the developers source code at one place, we will use the source code repository softwares. What is that, guys? So we will use the source code repository tools. What that is? That is source code repository tools. So what is that? Source code repository tools. We need to store at one place. So we need to store the code at one place. Right, guys? This is nothing but a repository. This is nothing but a repository. So which repository this is? This will be a GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket. What is that, guys? These all are the source code repository tools. What these are? These all are the source code repository tools, guys. So the developers develop that code and push it to this repository. Developer develop that code and push it to the repository. Guys, understood now? Yeah, you will get it. You will get it. What is cloud? What is Git? What is GitHub? What is a version control system? What is source code management? So now you understood. Source code is nothing but a whatever the developer develop that code, right? That code will be pushed to this location. Source code management tool. So what is this? So whatever the developer develop that code, right? It will be managed by the this repository. This repository. Yeah, you will get it, guys. What is that in a project? What is that? Multiple developers will work for a project development, right? Development, right? What is the second point? The second point is developers will be working from multiple locations. Multiple locations. Yes, developers will be working from the multiple locations. One is from USA, one is from Hyderabad, one is from Pune, one is from Chennai. Okay. Yeah, developers, all developers code should be stored at one place. Store at one place. Where that is a source code repository tool. Either may be a GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket. Okay, source code. So integrate to integrate all the developers source code at one place. So we will use source code repository, softwares. What are those, guys? Like guys, what are those? GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, and AWS Azure repo, etc. Guys, understood? So what is version control system or a source code management tool? So multiple developers will work for the project development. Developers will be working from the multiple locations. All the developers code should be stored at one place. To integrate all the developers source code at one place, we will use the source code repository softwares like a GitHub, Bitbucket, or GitLab, AWS Code Commit, or Azure repo. There are two types of version control systems. How many types? There are two types of version control system. What are those? There are two types of version control systems. What those are? So one is a centralized version control system. The other one is a distributed version control system. What is the one is one is a centralized version control system. And the second one is what is the second one? Second one is a distributed version control system. What is that, guys? Centralized version control system and a distributed version control system. It is that I need to showcase a centralized and distributed. Anywhere I have added. No. Okay. One second. So I will show you that thing. Yeah. So what is that? Source code management. The management of a changes to documents, computer programs, or large websites and other collection of information. So what is that? So the source code management will be two types. One is a centralized version control system. Other one is a distributed version control system. So what is centralized version control system? So centralized version control system is nothing but a only one server. So these all are the working copy. Something like a developer one, developer two, developer three. They are the working and directly committed to the server. If something goes wrong on the server, so the data will be lost. So that is the reason a big advantage, a distributed version control system came into the picture. So the difference between centralized and version, you see, so here only one repository, but so here we have a server, the repository in the server and the local repository also. We have a local repository also, server repository and local repository. Developer laptop also having a local repository, and we have a remote repository. So the code will be in the local repository as well as in the remote repository. So if the code will be crashed in the remote repository, there will be a code in the local repository. So what is that? So this is the benefit, distributed version control system. So first we use the code working copy to we will push it to the local repository. From local repository to we will push the code to the remote repository. What is that? So this is nothing but a distributed version control system. So in this distributed version control system, the code will be in the local repository and in the remote repository. So in the remote repository, you see, right? So this is the local repository and the remote repository. Who uses the distributed version control system? Git is the distributed version control system. Centralized version control system is used for the tool SVN subversion. Subversion is used to the centralized and Git uses the distributed version control system. So that's the reason Git is popular. Git is popular. You guys understood why Git is popular? Because of a Git is a distributed version control system. This is the distributed version control system. Now you understood the what is version control system, what is source code management tool, right? Now, what is Git? What is guys? What is Git and what is GitHub? You need to know, right? What is Git and what is GitHub? Okay. Yeah, so now you understand what is Git, what is GitHub, what is Git, what is Git, guys? Yeah, so before going to what is Git, so we'll discuss about the GitHub also simultaneously. What is GitHub? Guys, now you understood. So what is this? Now you understood the, so GitHub is a, what is that? GitHub is a platform which is used to store the related files source code at one place. Okay, so in GitHub, so we can create a source code repository to store the project code. Now you understood the GitHub. So what is Git? Where exactly Git uses? What is Git and where exactly uses the Git? Right. So where exactly? So in your laptop. Where is that, guys? Yeah. So in your laptop, you can install the Git software. What is that? Git software. What is that? Git client software. What is this? Git client. Git client software. So here also Git client software. So here also Git client software. So here also Git client software. So what is the Git client software? So what is the Git client software and why we use Git client software? Yeah. So if you install the Git client on your machine, Git client on your machine, so right, so we can send the data from your laptop to local repository. So if you want to use this, if you want to execute git add, git commit, git checkout, git merge, how we can push the code from your laptop to your local repository? So we can use the Git software. Git is a distributed version control tool that supports distributed nonlinear workflows by providing the data assurance for the developing quality software. What is that? I will show you. Git bash. So, okay. So what is this? This is the Git bash. So how we can interact? This is the Git. Git is installed. Git client is installed. I want to So I want to push the code to the from local repository to remote repository. So what is that we need? We need a Git client software. This is the Git client software, right? I want to push the code from your local repository to remote repository. How we can push, guys? So we can push the code. Okay, I have a GitHub, github.com/. Okay, so github.com github.com Hare Krishna Cherko 866. This is my account, GitHub account, and I have created a repository called as a AWS DevOps material repository. So what is that, guys? This is my repository. What is this? So this is my account, Hare Krishna Cheruku, and AWS DevOps material is the repository. So all my code will be stored in the GitHub repository. This is a remote repository. What this is, guys? This is a remote repository. What it will be there? My code will be pushed from my local to remote. What this is? Remote repository, GitHub remote repository. What this is, guys? So this is the GitHub remote repository. This is the Git client. What is that? This is the Git client. So from here to here, we can push the code. So how you can push? So how you can push? You can push the code in this way. First, we need to send it to the staging area. From staging area to local repository. So staging area to local repository. Guys, understood? Yeah, now I will tell you what is Git and what is GitHub. Now you understood the what is GitHub and what is Git. Git is a software to install and we can send the code from your laptop to local repository. You can use the Git. Okay. So and we can push the code from local repository to remote repository. So we can use that local Git software, right? So Git software is used to use it to send the code from your laptop to local repository by using the git add, git commit, git checkout, git merge. So from local repository you want to push it to remote repository, you can use the git push and git pull. So how we can execute this command? If you want to install git on our local, then only we can execute this command. So what is that? So this is the Git software. Okay. So this is the Git software to interact with the local repository to remote repository. Guys, understood? Very nice. Nice. Understood, right? So what is a Git? So what is a Git, guys? So what is a Git? Git is a version control system for tracking the changes in computer files. It generally used for the source code management in software development. What is that, guys? Source code management in the software development. Guys, this is the Git server. The developer will push it to the Git. Okay, have you understood? Yeah, now I will tell you. Nice. I will tell you. So Git is a real power on the command line. What is the Git is the a real power on command line. So what is that? I will tell you. So what is the Git is a real power. What is a Git, guys? Now tell me what is a Git? Now tell me Git is a version control software. Yes, Git is a version control software. Okay. Git is a version control software. Version control software. Understood? So the next one, what is that? It's a distributed version control system. What is that, guys? It's a distributed version control system. Right, guys? What is it? Yeah. So what is Git? Git is a distributed version control system. The code will be in the server, remote server, and the local also. The repository, the local repository, and the remote repository. So that's the reason Git is a distributed version control system. Distributed version control system, not centralized. Not centralized. Okay. What is that? It is used to track. It is used to track and manage changes to files locally. Okay. And why it is most popular? Why widely used Git? Git is a open source. It is a open source. Guys, what is open source? So open source is nothing but free of cost and source code also available. What is that? Source code also available. Guys, understood what is Git? Guys, now you understood what is Git? Guys, speak out. Understood what is Git, right? Next, what is GitHub? Guys, speak out, guys. GitHub. What is GitHub? You already understood. GitHub is a platform. GitHub is a platform which is used to store project code, which is used to store the project related files or source code at one place. What is that? Source. So what is that, guys? Source code. Source code at one place. All right. So what is that, guys? GitHub is a GitHub is a platform. This is the platform which is used to store the project related files and the source code at one place. Source code at one place. What is that? So this is the GitHub. So in this GitHub, which is used to store in this repository, I stored all the code. I stored all the code. Right. In GitHub, we can create a source code repository. What is this? This is the source code repository. This is the repository. Okay, you can create the repository and store the project code. You can create the repository and store the project code. This is my project code. Okay, very good. Guys, understood? It will be very easy, right? So in GitHub, what is that? In GitHub, we can create source code. We can create the source code repository. What is my repository? What is that, guys? AWS DevOps material. AWS DevOps material. What is my source code repository? AWS DevOps material. This is my source code repository. So why we need to store project code? To store the project code. Right? What is that? All the developers can connect to the project code repository to store the project code. Right? All the developers will connect to this. All the developers can connect to the project repository to store the project code. So code integration will be very easy. So how to integrate the code? Guys, now you understood? how to integrate the all the developers code at one place by using GitHub repository. So all the developers can connect to the project repository to store the project code. Code integration will become very easy. So GitHub repository will monitor all the changes. So we'll monitor all the changes. Who modified, when modified, why modified, what modified. So it will be tracking. All the changes will be tracking. How to track the changes? We can track the changes by using Git and GitHub. Guys, understood? It will be very easy. Yes. What is that? All developers can connect to the project repository to store project code, to store the project code, right? Code integration. What is that? Code integration will become very easy. Very easy, right, guys? So, next. So, how to monitor GitHub repository? GitHub repository will monitor all the code changes. What is that? So we'll monitor all the code changes. You see, guys. So 5 months ago, I modified. 9 months ago, I modified. Last year, I modified. 9 months ago, 5 months ago, 6 months ago. Right? So, right, you see, right? So when it was modified. So when it was modified. Right? So this is the commit ID, when commit ID, who committed, Hari Krishna, when committed. So all the changes will be tracking. All the changes will be monitored. So what changes? Who modified? Hari modified. Who? When modified? Last 7 months ago. When modified? 5 months ago. What modified? I modify the GitHub file. I modify the what modified. So I modified the Jenkins file or GitHub file or Kubernetes file. Why modified? Because of a new changes. Why modified? You guys understood? Now you guys are understood the Git and the GitHub. Is it very easy? Yeah. So Git is a software to install on our local machine, local laptop to track the changes, to move from your working directory to local repository, right? Create the branches, merge the branches. For that purpose, we can use the Git. Git is a CLI. Now Git. So who developed the Git? Guys, who developed the Git? Now you understood what is Git, what is GitHub. So who created or who developed the Git? Who is guys? Guys, does anyone knows who developed the Linux? Guys, who invented, who developed, who created the Linux? Does anyone knows? Guys, don't know, na? No problem. Who developed Linus Torvald? Who is that? Linus Torvald. So developed the Git. Developed the Git. He released as a open source. I already told you, right? So what is open source? Open source is nothing but a free of cost and source code also available. Free of cost and source code also available. Like, so what is that? What is open source? What is open source? Open source is nothing but a, so one is free of cost. Second one is source code also available. Source code also available. If the source code is available, Git source code is available, then this is the Git code. What this is? Git CLI code. So they can take that source code. Some of the companies are took that source code and created their own type of GUI repository. These all are GUI repositories. Guys, what are the GUI repositories? Guys, what are the GUI repositories? What is this? This is one type of GUI repository. Who is GitHub? So GitHub is the GUI repository. What is that? GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket. Okay, so they created their own GUI repositories. They created their own GUI repositories, and so we can store our code in these repositories. You guys understood? So GitHub from Microsoft. This is from Microsoft. So this is from Atlassian. This is from Atlassian. So this is from some other company. Right, understood. They took the code and they created their own remote repositories. They want remote repositories. They created their own repositories. Understood? Yeah. Source code available. If the source code is available, right? So Git is a CLI. So how you can use the CLI? You can use the CLI through the Git commands. Okay, Git commands. So we can use you see, Git commands, Git add, Git branch. These all are the Git commands. How you can use the Git CLI through Git commands. Okay. So what are those commands? Git add, Git commit, Git status, Git log, Git push, Git tool, okay, and Git clone, etc. Okay, so these all are the not only these we have a multiple just how you can interact with this Git through CLI from the Git commands, Git branch, Git fill, Git page, Git commit, Git status, Git add. Right, these all are the commands. Okay, guys understood? Git GUI tools. What are the Git GUI tools, guys? Git GUI tools. So what are the Git GUI tools? Git GUI tools are GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket. Okay, guys understood? Git GUI tools are GitHub, GitLab, GitLab, Bitbucket, Azure Repo, AWS Code Commit, okay, etc. Understood? This is nothing but a Git GUI tools. Yeah. Now Git the client. What is that? Git client. So what is that? Git client. Git client also known as a Git. What is that? Git client also known as a Git. Git client also Git client is also known as Git or Git bash. What is that, guys? So what this is? This is a Git bash. Git bash. What is that, guys? Git bash is the Git client. Git bash is the Git client is used to, so used in developer machine means our laptop that connects with remote repositories. Repositories like GitHub, Bitbucket, and etc. Etc. Guys, now you understood Git client? Git client is also known as a Git or a Git bash. Is used in developer machine that connects to the remote repository like GitHub. So, for example, Git remote hyphen v. It will not work. In ls. What is that, guys? DS test 6. CD test 6. Yeah, you see the difference between after this we got the main git remote hyphen v. You see that www.https github.com durgasoft 6 durga test 6. This is the remote repository. This is the one of the remote repository. So Git client is also known as a Git or a Git bash used in developer machine that connects with the remote repository like the GitHub. What is this? So this is the GitHub. We can connect it. Okay. Is understood? Guys, understood. Is understood, right? Guys,
Yes.
speak out, guys. Yeah. Any doubts?
No.
Guys, did you understand what is Git and what is GitHub? What is version control system? Okay. Guys, any doubts? Let's speak out, guys. Are you able to understand or not? Is it okay?
No doubts, sir.
Sorry?
No doubts, sir, as of now. Yeah.
Oh, is Shashi?
No
Yep,
doubt.
Shashi? No doubts, huh? Guys, understood, right?
So, in the real time, so which one is going to be used, like a Git client or Git hub? So
Real
for
time,
the
everyone uses both Git and GitHub. Git is
okay,
used to for the local repository. Remote repository is used for the store the data. So Git is uses you. So these guys are also, yeah, these guys also use Git. 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 How we can send the data? Where we can send the data? So we need Git and GitHub repository. So this is the centralized repository to store the data. Okay.
okay.
Yep, guys. Thank you. We'll continue from tomorrow.
So, hi, Hari. Hello.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
I have a question. So, at the starting of the session, you mentioned that this is a beginner levels course, right? So,
Yes,
this
yes,
Git
yes, yes.
and GitHub is used primarily, or other than GitHub and Bucket, something else tools are also used for version controlling and other things.
Yeah, so we can use it. We can use the GitHub. Beginner is something like just need to know what are the commands. It's not a beginner. It's an intermediate level. You will understand the intermediate level. Okay.
Okay, okay,
So
Hari.
yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.